One more tip for you as you navigate your push presses. The heart of the push press is of course the explosive hip extension to effectively jump the barbell overhead. This action is sometimes referred to as the dip and the drive. The dip is where you load your hips and bend your knees, and the drive is where you explosively extend, the jumping part of the movement. One thing that's useful to keep in mind is that as you dip, you want for your heels to stay flat on the floor. It's tough to catch because it can happen so quickly, but I do see it fairly often that as you dip, your heels lift up. This is a problem because if your heels aren't connected to the floor, you can't really press through your heels. And that's a problem because driving through your heels is how you leverage your glutes and posterior chain to help generate force. So if your heels lift up, those muscles don't really contribute. One thing that can help is to wear weightlifting shoes if you have them. It's not the easiest thing to recognize, but the dip does require some significant bend from your ankles. So if your ankles are tight, it might be especially challenging to keep your feet flat on the floor. And just as they do with squats, weightlifting shoes help to relieve demand on your ankles as they bend. They're not mandatory, but they might be helpful. And to be clear, your heels might very well come off the floor as you jump the weight up, and that's just fine. In fact, it's very likely that this exact thing will happen. It's only in the brief moments where your hips are loading on the way down that you want to be mindful of this potential problem. This is another instance where filming yourself might be useful. The explosive nature of this movement means that everything happens very quickly, so mechanical errors like this can be much more difficult to detect. Reviewing yourself on film can go a long way towards helping to identify and potentially fix this sort of problem. However you opt to observe and fix this potential issue, be it lifting shoes or taking some video or whatever else, the next time you perform your push press, try to devote some focus towards keeping your heels flat on the floor as you load up for that big hip extension.